On a cold March morning in 2024, Detective Isabella Rossi stood in the cavernous silence of the Westbrook University Library, a place that was supposed to be a sanctuary of knowledge. Instead, it felt like a tomb. The call had come in hours earlier, a missing persons report for an 18-year-old student named Amara Washington. What they found here, or rather, what they did not find, would begin a story of violated trust and a darkness that lurked behind the most unassuming of smiles. 3 days before, Amara Washington had been a portrait of focused ambition. She was a first-generation scholarship student, a young woman who carried the hopes of her family in her worn-out backpack, nestled between textbooks on structural engineering and classical architecture. Her dream was to build things that touched the sky, monuments of glass and steel that would be as resilient and unyielding as her own determination. That determination often kept her in the library long after the sun had surrendered the sky to the orange glow of the campus lights. Her life was a carefully constructed schedule of classes, study sessions, and a part-time job at the campus coffee shop. There was little room for anything else. Her vulnerability was not one of weakness, but of exhaustion. It was the vulnerability of someone so focused on the summit that they forget to look for predators hiding in the foothills. Her best friend Chloe had warned her. Chloe was pragmatic, her feet firmly on the ground, while Amara's head was in the clouds of architectural design. She had told Amara, her voice laced with genuine concern, that staying so late in the mostly empty library was a risk. Amara had simply smiled and promised she was careful. She explained that the quiet was essential, that the hush of the library after hours was the only place she could truly hear her own thoughts. This quiet, however, was a shared space. Marcus Thorne was a fixture of the library's late hours, a ghost in a security guard's uniform. He was 42, with a soft paunch that strained the buttons of his blue shirt, and a face that was blandly forgettable. He had watery blue eyes and a way of moving that was almost silent, a skill he had perfected over years of walking these lonely halls. To most students, he was just part of the background, a nameless guard who locked the doors. But Marcus saw everything. He saw the students who were struggling, the ones who were lonely, the ones who stayed late not just for academics, but because they had nowhere else to be. He had a studied understanding of human frailty. His own life was a monument to failure, a long, slow slide from a failed police academy entrance exam 2 decades ago to this low-paying, low-respect job. He harbored a deep, simmering resentment for the bright young students who walked these halls, their futures stretching before them like an open road, while his had narrowed to this repetitive, nocturnal loop. The yeet, or encounter that changed everything, began not with aggression, but with a calculated act of kindness. It was a Tuesday night, 2 weeks before Amara's disappearance. She was hunched over a drafting table, her brow furrowed in concentration, the smell of graphite and overworked paper hanging in the air around her. Marcus approached her, his footsteps unnervingly quiet on the linoleum floor. He placed a steaming paper cup on the edge of her table. Amara looked up, startled, pulling off her headphones. He offered a gentle, almost paternal smile. He said that he had noticed her working hard every night and figured she could use the caffeine. He told her it was on him. Amara was taken aback. She thanked him, a genuine warmth spreading through her chest. It was a small gesture, but in her isolated, pressure-filled world, it felt significant. It felt like being seen. This became their routine. Marcus would do his rounds, and if Amara was there, he would stop for a brief chat. He was careful, never overstepping, never making her uncomfortable. He presented himself as a benevolent guardian, a friendly face in the lonely hours of the night. He shared a fabricated story of his own past, telling her he had once been a student at this very university, studying history before family troubles forced him to drop out. He said, with a convincing note of melancholy, that he saw his own younger, more hopeful self in her dedication. This was the hook. He was creating a false bond, a sense of shared struggle and mutual respect. He was positioning himself not as an authority figure, but as an ally, a mentor. Amara, starved for encouragement and validation, eagerly accepted this role he offered. She started to look forward to their small conversations. She told Chloe about the nice security guard, Marcus. She described him as a kind older man who was just looking out for her. Chloe had felt a prickle of unease. She asked Amara if it was not a little strange, his sudden interest. Amara had defended him. She explained that he was just being friendly, that Chloe was being overly cynical, a decision to trust that would cost her her life. On the night of February 28th, the pressure on Amara was at its peak. Midterm exams were looming, and a major architectural design project was due. Sleep had become a luxury she could not afford. She entered the library that evening with a thermos of coffee and a resolve to work until she could no longer see straight. The hours bled into one another. The vibrant hum of the library during the day faded, replaced by the deep resonant silence of the night. Students packed their bags and left in twos and threes, their hushed conversations echoing in the cavernous space before disappearing out the doors. Soon there were only a handful of others scattered across the vast reading rooms. Then there was only her. At 11:45 p.m, a tinny voice crackled over the intercom, announcing that the library would be closing in 15 minutes. Amara heard it, but the words did not fully register. She was lost in the intricate lines of her blueprint, her mind a world away, constructing buildings of light and shadow. She promised herself just 5 more minutes. Marcus Thorne watched her from the security desk monitor. He saw her singular focus, her complete oblivion to the world around her. He had seen this state before. It was the perfect state of vulnerability. He followed his protocol, making a final walking tour of the premises, his keys jangling softly at his hip. His steps were deliberate, measured. He checked the study carrels and the restrooms, his movements economical and practiced. He was saving her for last. At midnight, he began the process of shutting down. He switched off the main lights bank by bank, plunging the enormous rooms into a semi-darkness, broken only by the dim emergency lighting and the glow from the computer screens. The library transformed, its familiar welcoming spaces becoming eerie and filled with long, distorted shadows. Amara's small desk lamp now seemed like a tiny, isolated star in a vast, dark galaxy. The 5 minutes she had promised herself had stretched into 20. Exhaustion, a foe she had been battling for weeks, finally claimed a victory. Her head grew heavy, her eyelids felt like lead weights. Her chin dipped to her chest and she drifted into a shallow, dreamless sleep, her pen still loosely clasped in her hand. This was the moment Marcus had been waiting for. He approached her desk, his rubber-soled shoes making no sound. He stood over her for a long moment, watching the gentle rise and fall of her shoulders with each breath. The beam of his flashlight played over her face, tracing the curve of her cheek, the peaceful expression she wore in sleep. What she did not know was that this peace was about to be shattered forever. A smile touched Marcus Thorne's lips. It was not the kind, paternal smile he had shown her before. This one was sharp and predatory, a cunning, triumphant expression that did not reach his cold, empty eyes. It was the smile of a collector who had just found a prized specimen. He reached out, his hand hovering over her shoulder, for a second before descending. His touch was firm, his fingers digging slightly into her jacket. Amara woke with a jolt, a gasp catching in her throat. Her first sensation was confusion, the disorienting fog of being pulled abruptly from sleep. She saw the darkened library, the beam of the flashlight, the shadowy figure of the man standing over her. Her brain, still sluggish, identified him. She said his name, a question in her voice. He told her softly that the library was closed, that she had fallen asleep. He said he was just waking her so she could go home. His voice was calm, reassuring, the same voice he had used for weeks, but his grip on her shoulder did not lessen. The fog in Amara's mind began to clear, replaced by the cold, sharp clarity of fear. Why was he still holding her? Why were all the lights off? She tried to sit up straight, to pull away from his grasp, but his fingers tightened. She told him to let go of her. Her voice was quiet at first, but firm. Marcus's smile widened. He said, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper, that they were all alone. He told her there was no need to rush. That was when the terror truly ignited. This was not the kind guard. This was a stranger, a predator whose mask had just fallen away. She shoved back hard, trying to get her chair away from the desk, to create space. She screamed at him to get away from her. The sound was swallowed by the vast, empty library, absorbed by a million silent books. Her resistance seemed to excite him. The pretense of kindness vanished completely, replaced by a chillingly calm expression of dominance. He grabbed her other arm, his strength overwhelming. He was not a large man, but his strength was wiry and absolute, born of a deep, practiced rage. He pulled her from the chair, forcing her to her feet. Amara fought with everything she had. She was not a passive victim. She kicked, she struggled, she tried to bite the hand that was now clamping over her mouth. Her mind screamed, a frantic litany of architectural principles and stress formulas, a desperate attempt to find a logical escape from an illogical nightmare. But bad things happen in the dark, in the quiet places that are supposed to be safe. Her struggle was fierce but brief. He was stronger, more prepared. He dragged her away from the small pool of light cast by her lamp, pulling her deeper into the shadows of the stacks, into a place where no one could see, where no one could hear. Amara Washington was never seen again. The next morning, Chloe woke up to a series of unread text messages she had sent to Amara the night before. A knot of anxiety tightened in her stomach. Amara always replied, even if it was just a quick, one-word answer. She called Amara's phone. It went straight to voicemail. By noon, after checking Amara's dorm room and getting no answer, Chloe's anxiety had bloomed into full-blown panic. She went to the campus police, her voice trembling as she filed a missing persons report. The initial investigation was frustratingly slow. The campus police treated it as a potential runaway case. They suggested that maybe the pressure had gotten to her, that she had just needed to get away for a few days. Chloe was furious. She insisted that Amara would never do that, not with her midterms just days away. She told them about the library, about Amara's habit of studying late. That was what brought Detective Isabella Rossi to the scene. Rossi was a city detective, on loan to the university to help with a series of recent campus thefts. She was sharp, with eyes that missed nothing, and a reputation for seeing patterns where others saw only chaos. When she heard the details of Amara's disappearance, she felt the same prickle of unease that Chloe had. Ambitious, dedicated students did not simply vanish the week of their exams. Rossi began her investigation at the library. She interviewed the staff, including the night security guard, Marcus Thorne. He was a model of cooperative concern. He told Rossi that he remembered seeing Amara the night she disappeared. He claimed he had made his final rounds at 11:50 p.m, and she was packing up her things, looking tired but fine. He said he had locked the doors at midnight and had not seen her leave, but assumed she had gone out just before he secured the main entrance. His story was plausible. It was exactly what an innocent person would have seen and done, but Rossi's instincts told her something was wrong. There was a rehearsed quality to his answers, a practiced smoothness that felt unnatural. He was too calm, too helpful. Rossi requested the security footage from the library. This was the first major roadblock. Marcus explained with a sigh of professional frustration that there had been a system glitch that night. He said the recordings from the main reading room cameras between 11:30 p.m. and 1 a.m. had been corrupted. He showed her the error log, a technical jumble of codes that seemed to confirm his story. It was a convenient glitch, too convenient. Was it possible he had engineered it? Rossi knew that a man in his position would have the knowledge to exploit the system's weaknesses, to create blind spots. The investigation stalled. There was no physical evidence, no witnesses, and a missing block of security footage. The prevailing theory, pushed by the university administration, who feared a public relations nightmare, was that Amara had left of her own accord. Chloe refused to accept this. She hounded Rossi with daily calls, offering any scrap of information she could think of. During one of these calls, she mentioned the nice guard, Marcus, and how Amara had spoken of his kindness. That detail clicked in Rossi's mind. The predator who grooms his victim often starts with kindness. The facade of the helpful mentor was a classic archetype. Rossi decided to dig deeper into Marcus Thorne's life. His employee file was unremarkable. He had worked at the university for 5 years, with no complaints filed against him. Before that, he had a string of similar low-level security jobs. It was his application to the police academy 22 years ago that caught her eye. He had failed the psychological evaluation. The evaluating psychologist had flagged what he called significant narcissistic tendencies, poor impulse control, and a deep-seated resentment of authority and perceived success in others. He was deemed unfit for a position of power, yet here he was in a position of power over a vulnerable student population, a wolf guarding the sheep. This was motive, but it was not evidence. Rossi needed something concrete, a crack in his carefully constructed alibi. The break in the case came from an unexpected place. Rossi, frustrated with the corrupted internal footage, had canvassed the adjacent university buildings for any external cameras that might have had a view of the library's entrances or windows. The Arts and Humanities building, across a small quad, had a high-resolution camera on its roof, intended to monitor a sculpture installation. Its angle was poor, mostly capturing the upper floors of the library, but it ran on a separate system, one Marcus Thorne had no access to. Rossi and a forensic video analyst spent an entire day poring over the footage. It was tedious, mind-numbing work. They watched hours of tape showing nothing but the stone facade of the library, the windows dark. Then the analyst paused the playback. He zoomed in on a third-floor window in a section of the library designated as Special Collections, an area that was rarely used by undergraduate students. At 12:47 a.m., nearly an hour after Marcus claimed to have locked up, a light flickered on in that window. It was not a room light. It was the distinct, moving beam of a flashlight. The beam moved erratically for a few moments, then vanished. It was small. It was circumstantial. But it was a lie. It proved someone was inside the library long after it was supposed to be empty and locked. It placed Marcus Thorne, the man with the keys and the flashlight, inside a building he claimed to have vacated. Rossi now had the leverage she needed. She brought Marcus Thorne in for a second interview. This time, it was not at the campus police office, but downtown, in a sterile, windowless interrogation room. The power dynamic had shifted. He was no longer the helpful employee on his home turf. He was a suspect. He maintained his composure, sticking to his original story with unwavering consistency. He denied being in the library after midnight. He suggested the flickering light could have been anything, a reflection, a fault in the external camera. Rossi let him talk, let him build his wall of lies brick by brick. Then she played her hand. She did not mention the camera. Instead, she talked about the psychological evaluation from his police academy application. She spoke the psychologist's words back to him, describing a man with a deep-seated resentment, a man who felt cheated by life, a man who might derive a sense of power from controlling those who possess the bright future he had been denied. She watched his face. For the first time, a flicker of emotion crossed his bland features. A muscle in his jaw twitched. His mask was beginning to crack. Rossi then presented a single evidence bag on the table between them. Inside was a single, dark, curly hair. She explained that her team had done a sweep of his personal vehicle that morning, based on a new warrant. They had found the hair wedged in the trunk lining. She told him that they were running DNA tests, but she was confident it would be a match for Amara Washington. It was a calculated bluff. The hair had been found, but the DNA results were not back yet. But Rossi was betting that the combination of psychological pressure and physical evidence would be enough to break him. Marcus Thorne stared at the evidence bag. His calm facade crumbled, replaced by a sneer of pure hatred. The bland, forgettable guard was gone. In his place was the predator, from the psychologist's report, a man consumed by his own failures. He began to talk. It was not a confession born of remorse, but a boastful, chilling monologue. He described how he had watched Amara for weeks, how he had enjoyed her trust, her naive belief in his kindness. He recounted the events of that night with a disturbing lack of emotion, detailing her struggle as if describing a broken piece of machinery. He had overpowered her in the stacks, then taken her to a soundproofed utility room in the library's sub-basement, a room he knew was a dead zone for all electronic signals. What happened there was a brutal, tragic culmination of his lifelong rage. Afterward, he had used a service dolly to move her body, wrapped in industrial plastic sheeting, out of the library through a deserted maintenance tunnel. He had driven her to a remote, unfinished construction site miles out of town, a place he knew from a previous security job, and buried her beneath a concrete slab that was poured the very next day. He had chosen the location with chilling foresight. He believed she would never be found. He believed he had committed the perfect crime. His confession was a horrifying window into the mind of a systematic manipulator. He was not just a murderer, he was a psychological architect who built traps of trust and kindness, only to demolish the lives of those he lured inside. He saw Amara not as a person, but as a symbol of everything he could never be. By destroying her, he felt a fleeting, pathetic sense of victory over a world he believed had wronged him. Based on his confession, law enforcement descended on the construction site. It took heavy machinery and 2 full days of painstaking work, but they found her. The discovery sent a shockwave through the university community and the city at large. The story of the kind security guard who was actually a monster became a national headline, a cautionary tale about the dangers that can hide in plain sight. Marcus Thorne was arrested and charged with kidnapping and murder. His trial was short. Faced with his own detailed confession and the irrefutable DNA evidence from the hair in his car, he was found guilty on all counts. The judge, calling his actions a profound betrayal of trust and an act of unimaginable evil, sentenced him to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Justice was served, but it brought no comfort. It could not bring back Amara Washington. It could not restore the future that had been stolen from her. In the aftermath, Westbrook University was forced to confront its own failures. An investigation revealed systemic flaws in their hiring practices and security protocols. Marcus Thorne's background check had been cursory at best, and no one had ever bothered to look into his failed police academy application. The library's security system was found to be outdated and easily manipulated. In response, sweeping changes were implemented. A new policy, which students quickly dubbed Amara's Law, was enacted, requiring that at least 2 security personnel be on duty during late hours, and that no student could remain in the library after closing without a registered study partner. Background checks for all campus employees became far more stringent. The case had a broader impact. It served as a wake-up call for institutions across the country, highlighting the unique vulnerabilities of student populations and the critical importance of robust safety measures. Chloe, devastated by the loss of her friend, found a new purpose. She changed her major from business to social work, dedicating her life to advocating for campus safety and supporting victims of violent crime. She established the Amara Washington Foundation, a non-profit that funded scholarships for aspiring female architects, from underprivileged backgrounds and promoted awareness campaigns about situational awareness and trusting one's instincts. She wanted to ensure that Amara's name would be associated not just with tragedy, but with a legacy of positive change and empowerment. Detective Isabella Rossi closed the case file, but the story of Amara Washington stayed with her. It was a stark reminder of the dark side of human nature, of the way charisma could be weaponized and kindness could be used as a lure. She often thought of that final image of Amara asleep at her desk, surrounded by her dreams on paper, a young woman on the cusp of a brilliant future. The tragedy was not just in her death, but in the silencing of her potential, in the buildings she would never design, in the legacy she would never build. The story of what happened in the Westbrook University Library serves as a powerful cautionary statement. It reminds us that evil does not always announce itself with a roar. Often it approaches with a whisper, a kind word, and a warm smile. It underscores the terrifying reality that the most dangerous monsters are often the ones who have mastered the art of appearing human, hiding their true intentions behind a mask of normalcy until it is far too late. Amara's story is a testament to the fact that vulnerability is not an invitation, and a position of trust should never be an opportunity for exploitation. It is a tragic but vital lesson, written in the indelible ink of loss, about the darkness that can gather in the quietest of places. And it is a call to remain vigilant, to listen to that small voice of unease, and to remember that the guardians we trust are not always the protectors they appear to be.